Good evening. A form of green energy which supplies 1 million homes across the UK could disappear almost overnight unless the government steps in. Methane from landfill sites is used to generate green power, but the subsidies that support this work are set to be withdrawn. One green charity says it would be a disaster for the environment and leave all of us even more exposed to the volatile price of foreign gas imports. Our environment correspondent David Gregory Kumar reports from a landfill site just outside Rugby.
Even when we do our best to recycle, a lot of rubbish still ends up in landfill. And stuff like food scraps, garden waste and nappies all generate a potent greenhouse gas called methane.
Yeah, if we went in here and you had the waste inside the landfill site, the methane would build in pressure and eventually it would start to smell. It would create off-site environmental issues if no one was here doing what we do.
And what they do here is capture almost all of that methane from the rotting organic rubbish in the landfill. And they don't just trap the methane, they power these engines with it to generate green electricity.
One of the things that's really useful about this energy as a form of renewable energy is it's 24/7. These engines are running all the time. So unlike solar or wind, which comes and goes, you can always rely on the electricity produced by this landfill.
There are landfills across the country where climate change gas isn't escaping, but is instead trapped and turned into a very useful source of green power. Enough for around 10,000 homes a year from this site alone. And yet all of this could come to an end because the government is axing the subsidy that supports all this work.
87% of these sites would close overnight, which means not only would you lose the benefit for the renewable energy that comes from them, but also you'd see an increase in methane emissions across the UK, somewhere between 7 and 14% based upon a recent study.
It's not just the industry lobbying to keep this subsidy. Environmental charities want it to continue as part of our bigger efforts to deal with climate change.
Because it's also really short-lived in the atmosphere, actually tackling methane emissions can have an immediate effect, and we should be thinking of action on methane as the emergency brake on climate change.
Our landfills will keep producing methane for years, whatever the government does, but this change in policy could cause real damage to the climate, to our green electricity supply, and end a British success story.
And David is with me now. So, David, what has the government had to say about all of this?
We asked them for their comments and they sent us a statement. This comes from a person at the Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero, and they told us electricity produced from landfill gas generators plays an important role in increasing our energy security while turning off the tap for future methane emissions and helping deliver net zero, which is what we just said. We are exploring options to support the sector to both meet our net zero targets and also that are in the interests of bill payers. Now, that last bit is the interesting bit because that implies, yes, we are aware something's going on here and we may need to do something, so they're going to start maybe getting the ball rolling. As I said, this is a British success story. People around the world look to us for methane capture. It would be a shame if the government fumbled the ball on this one.
And from your report, it seems like it's a race against time.
Yes, so the subsidy's going away, and then once these sort of landfills is sort of turned off, these systems, it's very hard to turn them back on. It's not like flicking a switch. So yes, things have to be sorted out before we get to this cut-off point. One of the places in the Midlands that could be affected is Wally's Quarry. Now, we know this is now closed as a landfill site, but the company in my report does work here to extract methane. Nothing to do with the actual landfill site itself, I must stress that. And they are still doing that. But obviously, if they then stop doing this, the methane will build up and it does start to leak out. And yes, it does smell. I think the people around Wally's Quarry would say we've had more than enough of that kind of thing in the past few years. So the hope is the government will find some solution here. We'll look at their sort of financial statement next month and see what they tell us.
Interesting. David, thank you. To other news.